couple of months ago, while house sitting and dog sitting for my parents, I had an eerie feeling. As an obsessive ID channel watcher and younger female, I played it off as paranoia. During these few days, whenever I took the dog out, he suddenly began sniffing areas he never sniffed before, particularly under each of our windows, and thankfully, it's because of him that I discovered 2 larger footprints under a window that looks directly into our living/dining room. Around the same time, about 2 months ago, I noticed a man walking up and down our street that I'd never seen in the entirety of my life. Small Midwestern town. He also had, in my opinion, odd mannerisms, prolonged eye contact, continued staring, and craning his neck as he walked by, and never returned my smiles, hellos, or waves. Eventually, I became irritated due to how creeped out I was with both him and the eerie feeling in general, and decided to wave. Upon no acknowledgement in return, other than a cold stare, I got up and acted like I was going to follow him down the street, which made him walk faster and turn a sudden corner. Never saw him again. Now today, I help my parents out by picking up their dog from the groomers, as it's right up the street and a safe suburban area. Oftentimes, I don't walk while running errands in town. When I returned home with the dog, I had an unexplained horrible feeling the minute I walked in the door. Something, maybe a blanket, seemed misplaced. Something was off. I threw a load of laundry out in the basement and quickly stood up and looked around. Nobody there. Then I proceeded to the bathroom to check my makeup, and right then I looked down to my left, and there's feces in the toilet, with no toilet paper and not even flushed. I've been the only one home all morning. I immediately throw back the shower curtain and start shaking, probably from adrenaline, and when nothing is there, I close the bathroom door and lock myself inside. I called dispatch, and they arrived in less than 2 minutes, searched the entire property, make me check my laptop to see if any recent search history isn't my own. Interesting. And check the fridge to see if food is missing. All valuables are accounted for. I know for a fact the doing in the toilet wasn't from me, and no one in my family would go number 2 and not use toilet paper or flush. I know someone has been there, yet because I love horror movies and the ID channel, they think I'm crazy. This won't be as creepy as most of the stories here, but it's something that completely horrified me to my core when it happened. Back in my late teens in Dublin, Ireland, I used to head to a particular nightclub every single week and got to know most of the regulars there, to the point that I could sit at any table and know at least a few people. One night, I was introduced to a new woman that no one really knew very well, and I said hello, made very short and polite conversation, and then went about my time as normal, dancing and drinking. Nothing much of note happened during my time in the club. At the end of the night, I left a little earlier than my friends because I lived really far away outside the city. I got a taxi home, expensive, and got into bed, falling into a deep sleep. I woke up in the morning, sunlight streaming into the room, and immediately knew something was wrong. Too much weight on the bed. I spun and looked down to the end of the room, and there, sitting on the end of the bed, was the woman from the night before, staring at me wide-eyed with utter devotion and a weird smile. It was totally horrible. I had no idea what to say, so I said nothing. I was so weirded out by her expression and the whole bizarre nature of the situation. I was dumbstruck. It wasn't a lustful look, it was spooky, obsessive, and insane looking. I know for a lot of guys, the idea of having some random woman appear in their bedroom might be a thrill, but this was nothing like that. It was scary, plain and simple. I got up, got dressed, summoned a bit of courage, turned to her and said, "You are leaving now," and essentially marched her out of the house, telling her that buses leave from the end of the road every half hour. She then left without saying anything. From talking to friends and family, I pieced together what had happened. After I left the nightclub, she had tried to catch me up, but instead had lost me. She went back, asked around until someone told her the rough area I lived in, got a taxi there, knocked on random doors, waking up neighbors, and eventually one told her exactly where I lived, and then lied to my sister, saying that I had been expecting her. My sister was pissed off at being woken up, but she let her in. From there, she got to my room and sat there for who knows how long, silently watching me. As it turns out, almost nobody from the club knew her at all, but we all assumed someone else must know her. What really spooks me is that if she wanted to hurt me for whatever reason, she easily found her way right into my family house, right into my bedroom. I'm shuddering just thinking of it. I live in a small town and work in a neighboring town. I got off of work last night around 10:30 and was feeling pretty okay because I didn't have to work Easter. I was planning to go to Walmart but wanted to get gas from a closer gas station because I had their rewards card. Now, living in a small town, there's not much to do around here, especially if you're between the ages of 15 and 20, so going back at least 3 generations, the teens in this town, which I always call my hometown, spend their Friday and Saturday nights driving from AutoZone down 3rd Street about 5 blocks, turning onto South Main, driving 2 blocks, turning around in the pawn shop and driving back the way they came. I know it's boring, but it's all there really is to do that isn't illegal. So I went in and paid for my gas and noticed a woman standing in the corner, glaring out the front of the gas station. I didn't think much about it, so I just headed back outside. The night was nice, so the drag was still filled with a few cars. And the AutoZone across the street was still filled with parked cars, of people around my age or a bit younger. There was also a pickup filled with high school boys in the pump across from me, who were minding their own business, getting gas and snacks. Suddenly, my chill mood is interrupted by the same angry woman who was in the store. She starts screaming in my face. I'm sure I got some of her spit on my face. "Get your ass home. I'm tired of all you dumb kids driving around at night. Get the heck out of here," she screams, loud enough for the rowdy guys in the pickup next to me to go quiet. Oh, and she also said I needed to stop having sex and being a slut, even though I'm a virgin. She keeps yelling about teenagers and how disrespectful we are, and since I had just gotten out of work, I was sort of brain dead and blanked out until I heard my gas pump tick off, and the lady was still screaming in my face. $13 of gas later. She had worked herself into a sweat and was breathing heavily, and as a somewhat overweight person myself, I can tell she was having a very hard time at it thanks to her size. My mouth just dropped open and I pulled the pump out of my tank. I mustered up the only response I could think of. Ma'am, I'm 20. I just got off of work and I'm getting gas." Somehow this crazy bitch gets angrier and tries to step forward, and she's already too close, when the boys in the pickup start laughing. "Hey lady, I'm 17, the driver yells. Then the 4 other boys, now out of the truck, got into the act, yelling their ages. Crazy lady, now having multiple underage targets, goes chasing them. The boys are screaming and laughing at this 60-year-old lady, chasing them around the truck. I thought, screw this, and climbed into my truck. The driver of the truck, the only one who was still in it, looked at me like, now what? So I motioned for him to move. He honks and yells for his friends to jump into the bed. 3 of them made it in, except for the bigger kid, who I think said he was 16. The old lady had grabbed his shirt and wasn't letting go. I started to drive away, but stopped when I heard that 16-year-old yelling for her to let him go, while the other guys told her to screw off. She started to claw his arm with one hand and tried to push him to the ground with the other. Out of all the times for the cops not to be driving around, this was the time. I climbed out of my truck, mumbling to myself, No, thinking I was going to have to save a kid who wasn't exactly too much younger than me from being killed by a crazy bitch. Thank the heavens for the group of people across the street, because they noticed and started laughing and screaming at the crazy lady. She lets go of the 16-year-old and starts hobbling to the curb. The 16-year-old starts to scramble, and I, already being tall, built, and filled with adrenaline, check him quickly before throwing him into the cab with the drivers and telling him to leave now in my best mom voice. Driver nods and the other boys are still screaming about the crazy bitch, while the 16-year-old just nods and tries to hold back tears. He peels off and is gone. I climbed into my pickup truck because I saw that crazy lady was coming back, started it up and drove around her, telling her to go screw herself. I decided to go on the drag, mostly despite this crazy woman. I drove off and went on the drag 2 times and saw the crazy lady on the corner of the gas station with her arms crossed, flipping off every teenager who passed by. I go by the 3rd time and she's gone. I'm wondering if she went home or worse, went to one of the parking lots where people parked to harass some more people. It was the latter. There she was in the AutoZone parking lot, screaming at some girl before a guy got in between them. I stopped and watched and was happy to see that they seemed to be handling it, and by handling it, I mean by harassing her back. There was a guy who had a repurposed scooter cart and kept doing circles around her. I drove off, and when it was getting late in time for curfew, I pulled over and talked to the group and the guy on the scooter, and apparently she had enough and just trudged into the darkness behind the gas station. I pointed out that the houses behind the store are known for meth heads, and the group agreed she was probably on something. I ended up hanging out with them for the rest of the night. Pretty chill people. The guy on the scooter was hilarious. I never saw those guys in the truck again from that night. I just hope that 16-year-old wasn't too scared. This happened last night. My friends and I were all hanging out, and it had already been a hectic afternoon. Without going too into detail, we'll save that for later. It was a relatively warm evening, so we were going for a walk around the town the majority of us lived in, which is something we do often enough that we would have felt safe doing it individually, let alone in the group of people that we were in now. There were 2 15-year-olds and 4 16-year-olds, one of whom is a month away from 17. So we had been walking for over an hour now. We always walk to this ice cream shop, which is the furthest point from the house we meet at, before we turn around and head back. We are already halfway home from there at this 4-way intersection by a Dunkin' Donuts. We're approaching the intersection, laughing about something stupid when this lady across the street starts screaming. She was borderline old, late 40s to mid 50s. She yells at us, saying, Wait, stop, wait." She then runs across the intersection through traffic to get to us. Now at this point, all instincts were telling us to turn around. The problem was, to get home, we had to go in the direction this person was running from. We approach the intersection just as she reaches us. "Oh good, you're all teenagers. Will you come to our concert later? We have 4 bands. It's teenager music. We've got free pizza and snacks like brownies and cookies. We even got a popcorn machine." Needless to say, we were a little disconcerted. We tried to politely decline, saying that it was getting dark and we were on our way home. However, she would not let us go or get a word in edgewise. My friend tried to tell this lady that she didn't like that type of music, but she quickly changed her original statement. "It's all kinds of music. Come on, you'll love it. If you don't like it, you can walk right back out. It's just a mile up that street, right over there. Come on, you'll fit right in." She then tries to force us in the direction of the concert, trying to get us to follow her, as if there hadn't already been multiple red flags, this was the first of the more significant ones. All of us were extremely uncomfortable now, but trying to laugh it off. My cousin was smart. She held up her phone to her ear as if she was calling someone, even though she wasn't. There's terrible cell service in my town, which is something that made everyone even more nervous. She said, "Hello? Yeah, we're on our way back. We'll be there in a few minutes." And aside to the crazy lady, "Sorry, my dad is calling." Now the lady took practically no notice of this. She just kept trying to convince us. By now the sun was almost completely set. We were all itching to just get out of there and go home. That's what my friend says. We have to go ask our parents first. Here's the scariest and most unsettling part of the whole conversation, in my opinion. "No, don't tell your parents. It's only half a mile up that road. You all have cell phones, don't you? You can call them on the way there." Now we were all more than a little nervous. Everyone is looking at Dunkin' Donuts as though if we looked hard enough, we'd teleport. Nobody really says anything at this point. We don't know what to say. "Don't worry, it's in a church. Nothing bad can happen to you." Cue nervous laughter and muffled disagreements. "It's on until 9 o'clock. We'll be there in a half an hour." She gestures across the street to this other lady and 2 kids in matching yellow t-shirts. They come across running immediately, and as we get a closer look, it's obvious the kids are extremely uncomfortable and would rather be anywhere else in the world. The other lady is definitely older, as she has white hair. These guys are coming to our concert. They don't know anybody, but the old lady interjects as the kids hand out a few flyers. They don't know anybody? Perfect. At this point, we are all done with this conversation. We have no intentions of being kidnapped 10 minutes from our destination. We start walking across the crosswalk to Dunkin' Donuts. They want assurance that we'll go later, and we give it to them. Falsely, of course. We went into Dunkin' Donuts because there were more people in there, and we felt safer since there hadn't been anyone on the street. I'm going to be telling this story for months, honestly. I grew up living with my mother and sister. Fairly normal childhood, living in a small town in the UK. I never knew my dad. All I knew from what my mother told me was that he was a bad man. I first met him when I was around 10 years old. It was all confusing. I don't really remember everything, but I think they had started seeing each other again. They saw each other on and off for a few months, and then he would disappear. This carried on throughout my teens up until I was around 15 years old. He started to get quite aggressive, and she refused to see him anymore. My mother never told me when I was younger, but he used to beat her to an inch of her life when she was pregnant with me. One afternoon, he came to the door, and my mom wouldn't let him in. He tried to break the door down, shouting that he was going to burn the house down and kill us all. He didn't know I was there to witness all of this. I saw him at the front of the house with his hands to his neck, mimicking slitting our throat. That day he got arrested, and my mom got a restraining order against him. That was the last time we had heard from him until 3 years ago. I got a postcard with nothing but my name and phone number on it. I instantly recognized his messy handwriting. I thought it was odd after about 5 years of no contact to get a postcard from him. Obviously I ignored it. In July 2013, my mother found the police at our door. They came with some news that was shocking but also not at all. My grandmother went to visit my father. She is often traveling around, and it wasn't unusual to not hear from her for some weeks. But when she hadn't been heard from in 3 months, the family began to worry. The last person who had seen or heard from her was my dad. This all happened around the time I received the postcard. Her going missing had coincided with the discovery of a body around half a mile from where she was seen last. A relative identified her from a digital reconstruction of her skull, which bore a striking resemblance to her. My dad was the #1 suspect at this point. He was arrested on suspicion of her murder and later charged. The police took statements. They told us they had found evidence and they knew it was him, but he denied all. We were following the case, which was when the grisly details started coming out. They had an argument, and he ended up killing, dismembering, and then burying her in a shallow grave. They said she may have been alive when he dismembered her. Strangely enough, his family was on his side and said he was innocent. He had later come clean about the whole thing. He said he thought she was a reptile in human skin, and he wanted to cut her open to see the reptile. He was being held in a secure psychiatric facility, but is currently in prison. He has been assessed by multiple psychiatrists who said he has paranoid schizophrenia. He was sentenced to 9 years in prison for manslaughter, not murder. I find it absolutely appalling. He has served 3 years already, so he'll be out in 6. Someone who has killed his own mother in cold blood and has made death threats to his own daughter will be out of prison so soon. And it absolutely terrifies me what could possibly happen if he ever finds me or my family. I'm confused about the postcard he sent to me around the time he killed her. I don't understand how the justice system could mess up so much and let a potentially dangerous person out of prison so soon. This story is 100% true. If you don't believe me, you can Google Christopher Hill murder. So yeah, that's my messed up story about my own father.